Greetings and welcome to Ancient Library. This is advanced UFO literature beneath the pyramids, a quick update on the B.M.C and current events and potential revelations which more or less at least slightly corroborate the data of the case. I'm sure you saw a lot of videos regurgitating the recent news about the discovery surrounding the Giza Plateau. Scientists use SAR technology to detect huge chambers and structures multiple hundred feet beneath the pyramids. So is it possible that the interpretation of the data is not entirely accurate? Of course, but there is some information out there in the realm of ufology, to be precise from the Billy Meier case, which is providing intel on the structures and happenings which allegedly are located up to multiple miles beneath the Giza Plateau. And in this quick video we will dive into this very material. After that I will present a few more similar, let me call them coincidences, in regards to current events and the case. But let's start with the data of the recent discovery surrounding the Great Pyramid. So the CAFRA project, in which the highly discussed SAR technology got used, SAR stands for Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler technology, normally used to create 2D and 3D images of landscapes and objects while being carried by planes or satellites. So as far as I'm getting it, it works like this. A microwave signal gets shot onto the ground and the energy intensity which gets reflected back can be calibrated to obtain very detailed pictures. And it's used in archaeology, and many critics say it's only viable for surface matter like soil and not for detecting deep underground chambers. So we clearly need more comparable data, and it's also a question of the used software and the way of how the data is interpreted. And since I'm no professional on this groundbreaking tech, no pun intended, I won't emulate expertise about these things. Like I said before, this underground chamber interpretation with these cool illustrations is not written in stone yet. But after highlighting the fluidity of this whole matter, I wanna also say, if this discovery is real and we got these huge man-made structures beneath the Giza Plateau, then it's clear to say that this is one of the greatest discoveries ever made in current times. And I want to also mention that especially the people of Egypt could be potentially ending up to be a subject of, I will say, a conflicting history. So let's talk about the B.M.C data, which, if genuine, is of course loaded with plenty of ontological shocking content. And I will start with a quick clip from a 2.5 hour long video I've made in 2023 about this very special UFO/ET contact case, in which the matter of subject can indeed be connected to the aforementioned underground discoveries. The BFF is like some evil faction, or evil type faction, also mentioned as the Giza intelligence, and it's a renegade splinter group from the Pleiadians, and they split it like 1,000 years ago, and they got another agenda, pretty bad one. And it's less than 1,000 people, Samyasi says, and they got flying disc. I think they can't leave the planet as well, but they got flying disc, but it's compared to the Pleiadian ones, it's pretty old tech, and they even can take down by our jets and some human tech, so they are pretty rarely seen. Their base is below the Giza Pyramid, I think 4 or 5 miles deep under the Giza Plateau. There is an underground base where these beings chill and doing some mad operations on the planet. They are like influenced groups on the planet, like the Thule Society in Germany. They actually brought up Hitler or influenced Hitler in a bad way, and in this contact notes they say Hitler was like influenced by these bad beings through this Thule Society, so he was doing mad things, and we all know how it ended up. But I don't know, I don't want to blame this stuff on extraterrestrials. I don't know how it exactly went down, but it's the take from the Pleiadians and the take that you get from the Billy Meier case. I want to mention here, no spoiler alert, but later in the 80s, I think, the Pleiadians took care of the BFF and removed all of them from the planet and, yeah, get rid of their base below the Giza Pyramid, because, yeah, they're going a little bit too wicked. So if you already think a rogue evil renegade ET splinter group which built an underground base beneath the Giza Plateau is wild, then we got even more here. So this is from the preliminary investigation report by Wendell Stevens, who is one of the first UFO researchers who covered the Billy Meier case, and I will read a short part of this excerpt from the contact notes. They were exactly constructed according to the data. When the catastrophe threatens again, it will coincide exactly with the astronomic data there. The old astronomers were very capable and calculated the data very accurately. They even considered Earth changes in their calculation and could figure out the exact dates, as calculated. These changes have occurred, providing the old science correct. Now, slowly the time will come for the 70,000-year-old prophecy, announced by the astronomical values of the measurements, to come to pass, when the sunlight from a distant star reaches through a tube-like opening from the outside of the Giza Pyramid into the center. Then this event will occur. The sunlight from the star will fall into a straight, uninterrupted line and will illuminate a certain point. I cannot tell more about this. So yeah, we got even more here. This next excerpt is from an older part of the contact notes, where Billy Meyer was in contact with another ET, and it's getting even more wild here. He was traveling with this ET person into these deep halls underneath the Giza pyramid, and I will read a short excerpt from his diary type of a thing here. The passage, which was furnished throughout with steps, led steeply and deeply down into the pyramid. Deeper and deeper it went down, and then suddenly we stood in a gigantic hall, which seemed to overflow with light coming from everywhere and nowhere. The hall was giant-sized, and it was the gigantic disc-shaped spaceship which rested here next to various smaller ships in the middle of this hall, deep below the surface of the Earth. A giant spaceship deep below the foundation walls of the Pyramid of Giza. I actually believed I was dreaming. I pinched myself on the ears once, twice, 3 times. I felt the pain and pressed my fingernails into my ears. The pain intensively reinforced itself. It actually was not a dream. Here, resting deep below the Pyramid of Giza, was actually a disc-shaped spaceship of approximately 300 meters in diameter. A ship similar to the one I've already had seen once on June 2nd, 1942. And this ship here must indeed already have been in this giant storage hall for centuries or even for millennia. Very deep under the earth. And by my reckoning at least 3,000 or 4,000 meters deep below or to the side and downward from the Pyramid of Giza. So I will pick up on that beneath the pyramid subject later. For now, I will continue with another short clip from the 2023 B.M.C program, which relates to a current testimony made in relation to another supposed ET contact scenario. It's getting deep. Then they talk about the nearest planet to Earth, which is supporting life, and the Pleiadians say it's only 5 light years away. Like, only 5 light years. It's a lot of distance, of course. And it's they got human life there, and it's they got a planet with 27 billion or over 20 billion people on the planet, and it's a massive overpopulation there, even more than our planet. And they talk about the race is maybe blue-skinned, but it's a humanoid race. I'm not pretty sure. They say they frequently visit Earth and they come here for food. They are peaceful. They're taking seeds and I don't know animals. Hashtag cattle mutilation. I'm not sure this makes sense here, but I just inserted at random. They're, like I said, friendly folks, and the ships are seen. And the Pleiadians say soon that we might as well got open contact with these beings from the very near 5 light years away planet.
As we approach, that's when I noticed his skin had this blue tint to it, like he was hypothermic. That's what I thought. My immediate thought was that he was hypothermic and he needed help.
So it's like it's white skin, but it's turned like almost the blood's rushing. It's not like a dark ocean blue or something.
Oh, no.
Like that.
It's definitely not like dark navy blue or anything.
Right.
No, this is just like you or I. We're cold as all get out, and we're starting to freeze. That's what it looked like to me. That level of blue was like, holy crap, you know. That was the level of blue. It wasn't because he was like dark blue or anything. It was just this undertone of blue. So anyway, we get closer and closer, and he's only a few feet away from the car, and we're slowing down. And the guy in the front seat, that's where I mentioned in the film with you that that's when he screams out that he's got no ears. The guy in the front seat. And I'm like...
the guy in the front seat that's sitting next to the driver?
Yeah, the passenger side guy in the front seat says he's got no ears. And I'm thinking, how rude. You know, this guy's probably fighting for his life here, hypothermic, and you're talking about his ears, you know? So I'm popping open the door. I'm trying to take my jacket off at the same time because I'm thinking I got to wrap him in something because he's hypothermic. And that's when I step out onto the roadway and I'm shutting the door, and that's when I look up at him, and I'm realizing he has no ears, and his eyes are twice as big than normal, and he does indeed have this blue tint, and that's when I felt like really scared because I was like, oh crap, what did I walk into here?
How close is he to you now?
He's only like 3 feet. It's like,
he's right in front of you.
It's like, you know, me and James apart.
Is he looking you in the eyes?
Not immediately. He kind of, as I'm shutting the door and he realizes that I'm about ready to engage with him, he was like looking at the driver. I don't know what he was thinking about doing, but maybe he was going to hail him or knock on the window. I don't know.
Are you looking to see if he's armed?
No. I'm just more concerned for his health.
Okay.
At that point, because if he's on the range, you know, I'm thinking he's in a uniform. You know, there were no red flags for me to sit there and think like, oh, this is the criminal or this is some fugitive that's on the run, you know, or stuff like that. This guy just looked like a dude in a BDU uniform or battle dress uniform like I had. So anyway, but now I'm looking at him straight on. I'm like, holy crap, this dude does not look human. And I'm starting to get really scared. But then he talks to me, and that calms me down because I had to respond. And he's wanting to fix and repair his craft, and he's asking for that material, the tantalum.
What did his voice sound like?
It was not English at all. He did have an auditory, he spoke, but it sounded more like Norwegian or something like that.
So you couldn't understand what he spoke, but you could understand what he was saying because there was something telepathic going on.
Right. I could understand what he was saying, regardless of what he was actually saying.
What was he saying?
He was saying, you know, my craft is damaged. I need some material to repair it. Do you have any tantalum? And I was like, is that titanium? He's like, no. And so I was like, well, you know, pointed over to the Dreamland, you know, Groom Lake. And I said, those people might have some high-tech metals and things like that. And this wave of emotion hits me like disgust. Like, I'm not asking people like, you know, barbarians for that.
From him, he's saying that.
He's saying this. And I'm getting that telepathic emotion of his being disgusted about it, me even mentioning it.
So yeah, this is some pretty crazy stuff. And of course, the whole stream of thought to compare this data is only valuable if the root data, speaking of the B.M.C, is to be determined genuine. To play devil's advocate here, there's so much crazy stuff contained in this case that one can assume sometimes you just hit the mark, and therefore seemingly corroborate current events and discoveries, especially such polarizing and intense ones which are connected to the Giza pyramids. And if ETs are real, I bet there are more than just one strain of blue-skinned humanoids out there. On the other hand, I want to note that this isn't the first time such a raw type of corroboration took place in regards to the B.M.C. For example, in April of 2024, I've created a small preview type video in which I highlight data which kind of predicts an incident in Peru in which weird beings attack people who live near or in the jungle in certain areas in which, alleged to the B.M.C, underground structures are present, hosting some kind of isolated human life labeled as the arch enemy of the Incas. So nothing less in terms of craziness, but I want to put everything on the table here. We got enough people echoing casual UFO narratives like Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer, etc., the two of which claim quite similar crazy stuff, just located in different areas of content, speaking of the validity of things like remote viewing and the controversial CE5 protocol, to name two examples. To come back to the alleged pyramid discoveries and the respective data which needs to be tested and compared by a neutral force, I can't imagine a world in which this isn't already known somewhere in the classified world. And if this information is, or was, desired to be left undisclosed, we can expect all kinds of shitstorms in direction of the messenger, in this case the two European lead scientists, and possible additional psyops to destroy a clear perception of this discovery. Because this has already reached a lot of people and every content creator wants to profit off the algorithmic nature. This is how our digital trenches work in current times, sometimes just adding their own, subjective, most of the times unprofessional opinion. To close out this video, I want to add one more thing regarding the B.M.C case. If one sees all these writings which contain all these fantasy-like stories, it's just natural that all type of bullshit alerts are going off. And I can't say it enough, how crazy and controversial this case is. There are some links down in the description to my work on the case, and I will remain neutral on this material until I'm really sure what's going on. Until that happens, I will continue to connect dots and provide interesting information. Think for yourself. I'm going to be back soon. LIBRA.
Well, it's mostly the accumulation of evidence of each of these 300 reasons or 320 reasons by itself may not be totally convincing, but you put them all together and they're overwhelmingly convincing.